Hello all and welcome, and I am the Realist Philosopher, and in today's video I'd like to discuss the subject of wealth, what it is and where it comes from. Now, lately I've seen a lot of people online bandying about the idea, nay, the belief that wealth is nothing more than a construct, meaning it doesn't exist objectively and it's just some made-up idea that we all adhere to for convenience's sake. The implication being, of course, that if you start from this premise, you can justify taking other people's stuff through coercion, meaning by force, because, wealth isn't even a real thing, so made-up stuff can just be taken, because it's made up. You know, because how can anyone own anything when the very idea of wealth itself isn't even real? Now, when I tried to correct these people and inform them of the truth of the matter, they simply kept repeating the same phrase over and over and over again, that being, wealth is an illusion, or wealth is a construct. Now, of course, being social constructivists, which almost all leftists are, of course they would think this, as all leftists believe that most things are nothing more than social constructs anyway. Everything is relative. Everything is open to interpretation. Yada, yada, yada. I've heard all these things so many times before. And yeah, I suppose it makes life easier, I guess, to believe these things, thinking everything is just made up and that objective reality doesn't really exist. But anyway, I digress. So, is it true that wealth is just some kind of construct? Some made up thing? Of course not. And for anyone to make such a claim, they'd have to have a total lack of understanding of economics and how reality works in the first place. In truth, people who believe such things are likely people who don't even believe in objective reality and instead think in terms of moderate to hard solipsism, meaning they think reality is just some kind of projection and that the only real thing is the mind and that everything else is secondary. However, I'm here to inform you that reality is quite real, and wealth is very real, and in no way a construct. For you see, wealth, it's not the paper money we use that in and of itself has no intrinsic value. No, that's just a means of exchange for that which is really valuable, that being the goods and services that we use every day. You see, the problem that most people who believe in this drivel of everything being a construct have is that they get hung up on the currency and come to see that as the actual wealth instead of what it really is, which is just a stand-in and means of exchanging wealth. For you see, wealth has intrinsic value. It's something people want or need. There's a market for it. And while people want money, money isn't actually money, meaning something used as a form of exchange that in and of itself also has value. No, money these days is just currency, which is a means of exchange used to buy that which is actual wealth. That being the goods and services we all want or need to live our lives as best we can. But too many people get the means of exchange confused with the things they want to buy with it, which is the actual wealth. Let me explain further. The more sophisticated a culture is, the more goods and services they're going to produce, and in turn the greater the need for some kind of universality in terms of currency. Now, in the not-too-distant past, gold and silver were both the money and the means of exchange. At that time, money had actual value, and you couldn't create more of it, as is the case with goods and services, which you used to use money to buy. No, because you only have as much gold or silver as can be pulled out of the ground. And that makes it an excellent means of exchange because it had intrinsic value and it also maintained its value over time. Something that's not the case with paper money. And now that we have paper currency as a stand-in for something with value, currency that can be printed ad infinitum but has no intrinsic value, that's led far too many people to come to associate, nay even believe, that that paper currency is the actual wealth. Essentially made up value. A construct. But is that the case? Is wealth a construct? Nope. Take the example of a tree farm. I like to use this example because it's easy to conceptualize and understand. So, let's say that I own 1,000 acres of land, and on it I grow trees of varying ages, thus allowing me to have a harvest of trees ready to go for commercial use every year. I sell it to other people who use it to make paper, furniture, toothpicks, housing, you name it. My tree farm pumps out a certain amount of wood consistently every year. Why? Because there's a demand for wood. People need it for countless things. And that demand means my trees have value in the market, which is based upon the demand for wood. The more demand, the more wood I can sell. And I also have competition, which means I can't charge too much, or other people will undercut me, and then I won't sell anything. Now, are these trees wealth? Yes. Are they a construct? Absolutely not. You see, I had to put time and effort and resources into growing them. Fertilizer, various chemicals that repel bugs that might eat the leaves, as well as making sure the trees didn't suffer from any diseases which might spoil my crop. So they're not made up. They're not a construct. They're very real and have very real value in objective reality. And once I sell them to others, those others will then use them to create ever more goods, specific goods, which will themselves have even more value than the raw materials put into them that I provided to have those goods created. Okay? And the currency that I got in exchange for all those trees represents the time, the effort, and resources I put into growing those trees. It's stored up value that I can now use to purchase whatever I want, so long as I have enough stored up value represented by my paper currency to get what I want. But the paper currency itself is not the wealth. No. The value came from the trees that I sold. The paper money is simply a proxy for that wealth and makes a convenient means of exchange. In truth, the person or persons who bought my trees, they gave me a truck or another 500 acres of land or an addition to my house or whatever I decide to use that stored up value for. You see, that's the beauty of money. I get exactly what I want in exchange for my goods or services. In turn, those who bought trees from me get exactly what they want or need when they use those trees to produce goods and services that other people want. And if it makes it easier for you, just think of paper currency as a sophisticated barter system. Instead of being limited to whatever items I might have that you might want and vice versa, money makes it possible for us both to get what we want, value for value. And it's what I use the currency to buy that's the actual wealth, not the paper money itself. Anyhow, I hope this makes the subject of what wealth is a little more clear for you. It's the things we make and the services we provide that there is a want or need for, which comprise wealth. And I suppose you could argue that this in and of itself makes wealth a construct because it's just the things we want or need, and without us there'd be no conception of wealth in the first place. But those things we want or need, they would still exist, even if only in their most raw form in terms of elements and compounds. They're an objective reality. Yes, that want and need is what makes them wealth to us, but so what? That wealth is hardly a construct. And by the way, the fact that we need and want these things, that's also an objective reality and in no way, shape, or form a construct. Nor is the value that we place upon these things anything but an objective reality, because our want and need for these things is what gives them value in the first place. And again, our wants, our needs are an objective fact of reality. As for how much paper money we have as individuals, that simply represents how many things we can potentially possess in the future that we want or need. And by the way, this is why when I hear people talking about wealthy people hoarding wealth, I can't help but laugh. It's just paper. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if you'd like to hear more of my content, please pay a visit to my podcast page. You'll find a link in the description below. Also, check out my Patreon, where you can pledge as little as $1 a month to support my channel, because I receive no monetization from YouTube whatsoever. So any help from you is appreciated. My podcast, by the way, it's very raw, and very real. It contains a lot of humor and is an enjoyable mix of logic, reason, and dark comedy. So I hope you'll choose to check it out. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, where I post regular updates about new content. And also, I have another YouTube channel, which is a little less formal, well, a lot less formal than this one, where I do social and political commentary. And the link for that is also in the description. And that's it. I am the Realist Philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.